In part one, Amara entered a school where wealth, pride, and jealousy decided who was respected. Now in part two, Jayden's gift will expose secrets, start rumors, and put Amara's future in danger.
Amara stood there with the phone in her hand, but her eyes were not on the phone anymore. They were on Jayden. A few seconds earlier, he had told her that one day he would explain the real reason he bought it for her, and when he said, "I hope your answer won't change," something about his voice made her heart slow down. It was not the way someone spoke when they were joking. It was not the way a rich boy spoke when he was trying to show off. Jayden looked serious, almost afraid of his own words, and that scared Amara more than the gift itself. She had spent most of her life learning how to avoid trouble, how to keep her head down, how to work hard without attracting envy, and now this boy had entered her life and made everything complicated with one simple act of kindness. She asked him again what answer he was talking about, but Jayden only smiled quietly and looked away. He told her that some things needed the right time, and Amara knew immediately that he was avoiding the truth. But this time, she did not push too hard. She looked down at the new phone, then back at him, and told him she could only keep it if he understood one thing. She was not like the other students in their school. If people saw her with an expensive phone, they would not call it a harmless gift. They would say she was using him. They would say she was pretending to be humble while secretly collecting things from a rich boy. And worse than that, they would drag her mother's name into it. That was the part Jayden had not thought about. He had given from a place of admiration, but Amara lived in a world where even receiving help could become a weapon against her. For the first time, Jayden did not have a quick answer. He looked at her carefully, and the confidence on his face softened into guilt. He apologized, and Amara could tell it was not a fake apology. He had really not seen it from her side. In his world, gifts were normal. In her world, every gift came with questions, every favor came with rumors, and every kindness from someone wealthy could easily be mistaken for pity. She told him she would keep the phone only for schoolwork, nothing more, and he promised not to do anything like that again without speaking to her first. But even as she placed the phone into her bag, the air between them had already changed. Something unspoken had been planted there, and both of them knew it. What they did not know was that Vanessa had seen enough to create her own version of the story. From behind the corridor pillar, she watched Amara walk away with the phone, and her face stayed calm only because she was too proud to show how angry she really was. Grace and Marie stood beside her, waiting for her to speak, but Vanessa remained silent for a few seconds. Then she whispered that a boy did not buy a girl an expensive phone unless something was already happening. Grace tried to calm her down and said maybe Jayden was just being kind, but Vanessa laughed at that. In Vanessa's mind, kindness did not exist without an agenda. People gave gifts to gain power, attention, or control, and if Jayden was giving Amara anything, then Amara had somehow taken a place Vanessa believed belonged to her. That evening, Amara returned home and tried to act normal, but her mother noticed the change immediately. A mother who had struggled beside her daughter for years did not need many words to understand when something was disturbing her. Amara showed her the phone again and explained everything more clearly this time. She told her mother that Jayden had admitted without fully admitting that he was the one who sent it, but he still had not said the real reason. Her mother listened without rushing to judge. She knew poverty could make a person suspicious of good things, but she also knew her daughter had a clean heart and a careful spirit. So she told Amara that wisdom was not the same as fear. It was good to be careful, but it was also important not to reject every good thing simply because people might talk. Amara wanted to believe that, but sleep did not come easily that night. She lay on her bed and stared at the ceiling while the phone rested on the small table beside her. The room was simple, the walls were not freshly painted, and outside the window she could hear distant sounds from the neighborhood. That phone looked like it belonged to a different life, a life where people did not count transport money, a life where a broken charger was not a serious problem, a life where girls like Vanessa casually mentioned London, Paris, and Dubai as if they were nearby streets. Amara closed her eyes and reminded herself that she had not begged for the gift. She had not manipulated anyone. She had only been herself. But even that thought did not remove the fear that the school would soon become uncomfortable. The next morning, the discomfort began earlier than expected. When Amara entered the school compound, some students looked at her longer than usual. At first she told herself she was imagining it, but then she heard a whisper behind her. Someone mentioned a phone. Someone else laughed. Her hands tightened around the strap of her bag. She kept walking with her head straight because head prefects were supposed to look composed even when they felt like disappearing. Jayden saw her near the assembly ground and greeted her with a smile, but before she could reply properly, Vanessa appeared beside them with that bright, polished smile that always came before an insult. Vanessa looked at Amara's bag and said she hoped the new phone was working well. Her voice was sweet enough for nearby students to think she was being friendly, but Amara had the poison underneath. Jayden's face changed at once, and he told Vanessa to stop. That one word, stop, carried more emotion than he intended. It made the students around them even more interested. Vanessa noticed it too, and that made her smile wider. She asked why Jayden was suddenly defending Amara so strongly, and Jayden said he was only defending what was right. To him, it was a simple answer. To Vanessa, it was public humiliation. And to Amara, it was exactly the kind of attention she had been trying to avoid. By break time, the rumor had traveled through the class like fire. Some students said Jayden bought Amara the latest iPhone because he liked her. Others said Amara had been pretending to be humble while secretly getting close to him. A few students made it worse by adding lies that had no connection to reality. This was how rumors worked in a school full of rich children. The truth was usually too boring for them, so they decorated it until it became entertainment. Amara sat with her economics textbook open, but the words refused to stay in her mind. She had survived being called scholarship girl, she had survived Vanessa's insults, and she had survived the pressure of proving herself every day, but this kind of rumor felt different because it involved her dignity. Jayden found her sitting alone and asked if she was okay. Amara almost said yes out of habit, but she was tired of pretending. She told him this was exactly what she feared would happen. Jayden wanted to confront Vanessa, but Amara refused immediately. She explained that every time he defended her publicly, people would use it as proof that something was going on. Jayden did not like that answer, but he listened. Amara told him that he could afford to fight loudly because his position was secure. If he got into trouble, his family would speak for him. If she got into trouble, her scholarship could be questioned, her mother could suffer, and her future could be damaged. That was the difference between them, and for the first time, Jayden truly felt the weight of it. Later that day, the principal called Amara to his office. The walk there felt longer than usual. She kept thinking about the phone, the whispers, Vanessa's smile, and Jayden's reaction. But when she entered, the principal did not accuse her of anything. Instead, he reminded her that leadership came with pressure. He said people would test her, especially now that she held a position many students wanted. Then he gave her news that should have made her happy. The school would be hosting a leadership and debate event with other private schools in Lagos, and he wanted Amara to represent Lekki International as head prefect. Amara was shocked. There were students who had been in the school longer, students from powerful families, students with more public speaking experience. But the principal told her that leadership was not noise. It was discipline, character, and substance. Amara left the office proud, but also afraid. The debate was a big opportunity, but it also meant more attention. More attention meant more envy. More envy meant Vanessa would not rest. And Amara was right. Vanessa was waiting near the staircase when she came out. She asked if the principal was now giving Amara special treatment too, and Amara tried to walk away, but Vanessa blocked her path. This time, Vanessa's words were sharper. She said Amara was very strategic. First the scholarship, then head prefect, then Jayden, then now a major school event. Amara looked at her calmly and said she did not have time for jealousy. That answer surprised Vanessa because Amara usually chose silence. But silence had started to feel like permission, and Amara was slowly getting tired of being treated like someone who should apologize for existing. At home that evening, Jayden faced his own pressure. His mother had heard from the driver that a package had been delivered to a girl from his school. She did not shout, but her quiet questions made Jayden uncomfortable. His father was also present, and when he learned that Jayden had bought an expensive phone for a classmate, his expression became serious. Jayden explained that Amara needed it and that she was different from the other students. He spoke about her hard work, her character, the way she helped her mother, and the way she never asked anyone for anything. His mother listened with concern, but his father warned him that admiration was not the same as wisdom. He said Jayden was young and could easily confuse pity with affection. Jayden became defensive immediately because he knew what he felt for Amara was not pity. That conversation stayed with him after he went upstairs. He sat on his bed and thought about his father's words. Was it pity? No. He knew it was not. Pity looked down. What he felt for Amara looked up. He admired her in a way he had never admired anyone in school. She did not have Vanessa's expensive confidence, but she had something stronger. She had dignity. She had focus. She had a quiet strength that made him want to be better, not because she preached to him, but because she lived like every day mattered. Still, his father's warning reminded him that their worlds were not just different in money. They were different in expectations, reputation, and consequences. Loving someone across that kind of distance would not be simple. The next afternoon, Jayden visited Amara's mother's fruit shop again. He told himself he was only going to buy fruit, but even he knew that was not the full truth. Amara was arranging oranges when he arrived, and when she saw him, she gave him a look that said she already knew he had no serious fruit emergency. Her mother welcomed him warmly, and for a few minutes the air felt peaceful. Jayden bought oranges, bananas, and pineapples, but when he tried to leave extra money, Amara immediately counted the change and returned it. Jayden looked helplessly at her mother, but her mother laughed and said he should not involve her because she knew her daughter very well. It was a small moment, but to Jayden it felt important. In that shop, Amara was not the scholarship girl, not the head prefect, not the target of school gossip. She was simply a daughter helping her mother, and he respected her even more for it. Across the road, Vanessa sat inside a packed car with Grace and Marie. She had followed Jayden from a distance after noticing he left school in his driver's car. When she saw him at Amara's fruit shop, her anger turned into satisfaction because now she had something stronger than a rumor. She raised her phone and recorded him talking to Amara and her mother. Grace told her it was wrong, but Vanessa did not care. She said people needed to see the truth. Grace asked what truth she meant because the video only showed Jayden buying fruit. Vanessa smiled and said truth depended on who told the story first. That was the moment Grace became truly uncomfortable. She had always followed Vanessa because Vanessa was confident, powerful, and exciting to be around, but for the first time, she wondered if Vanessa was becoming dangerous. As debate preparations began, the principal assigned Jayden to help Amara with research because he was strong in current affairs and had a calm way of organizing ideas. Vanessa hated the arrangement immediately. She volunteered to help too, but the principal refused politely, saying Amara needed focused preparation, not a crowd. The rejection embarrassed Vanessa in front of the class, even though no one laughed. To her, it felt like another reminder that Amara was being chosen again and again. First by the school, then by Jayden, and now by the principal. Her jealousy was no longer only about a boy. It had become about status. Vanessa could accept many things, but she could not accept a girl like Amara becoming the person everyone respected. In the library, Jayden and Amara worked on the debate speech. Amara had already filled pages with notes on youth leadership, integrity, and responsibility. Jayden was impressed, but he told her the opening needed more emotion. Amara was confused at first because she thought facts were enough, but Jayden explained that people remember truth better when it feels personal. He suggested she begin with a simple idea, that leadership is not proven by what people own, but by what they do when nobody is clapping for them. Amara stared at him because the line sounded like her life. Together they shaped the speech into something powerful. Jayden helped her polish the structure, but the heart of it came from Amara. It came from every night she had studied while tired, every morning her mother had prayed for her, every insult she had swallowed without allowing it to make her bitter. Vanessa entered the library with Grace while they were practicing. She pretended she had come to study, but everyone knew why she was there. She made a comment about Amara receiving private coaching, then Jayden told her to leave them alone. Amara closed her notebook and stood up because she did not want another scene. Jayden followed her into the corridor and asked why she kept walking away when people disrespected her. This time, Amara explained with a firmness he had not had before. She told him that peace was not weakness when you had too much to lose. Vanessa could create drama and still go home to protection. Amara could not. One serious accusation, one misunderstood argument, one report to the wrong person, and her scholarship could be in danger. Jayden had the pain behind her words, and for once he did not argue. He simply promised to help her win the debate without adding more trouble. But trouble was already moving quietly. Vanessa took the video from the fruit shop and cut it carefully. She removed the parts where Jayden bought fruit like a normal customer. She kept only the moments where he smiled at Amara, where Amara laughed, and where Jayden stood close to her mother's table. Then she added a caption that made it look like Amara had been secretly receiving gifts and favors from him outside school. She did not post it publicly yet. She saved it. Vanessa understood timing. If she released it too early, it would become gossip and disappear. But if she released it when Amara was about to stand on stage representing the school, it would become a scandal. The closer the debate came, the more exhausted Amara became. She woke early, studied before school, practiced during break, carried out head prefect duties, helped her mother at the shop after school, and revised at night. Her mother noticed the tiredness in her eyes and told her to rest, but Amara said she could rest after the event. Deep down, she wanted to win not because of pride, but because winning would prove something. It would prove that a girl from her background could stand in a hall full of rich students and still be excellent. It would prove that Vanessa's words did not define her. It would prove to her mother that all the sacrifice had meaning. One afternoon, Jayden found her in an empty classroom with her head resting on the desk. She quickly sat up and said she was fine, but he had learned not to believe that word too easily. He sat beside her and asked when she last slept properly. Amara tried to joke, saying maybe when her father was alive, but the sadness in her voice betrayed her. Jayden asked about her father, and for once Amara opened up. She told him her father was kind, the kind of man who helped people even when he had little. He believed character was more important than wealth. He believed people should not become cruel just because life had been cruel to them. Jayden listened without interrupting. Then he told her that his father believed people respected power more than kindness. Amara asked what he believed, and Jayden said he used to believe his father until he met her. The room became quiet after that. Amara looked away because the words felt too serious. Jayden knew he was stepping into dangerous territory, but he could not keep hiding behind jokes. He told her the phone was not pity, not charity, and not an attempt to show off. He had given it because he admired her, because he wanted to support something good in her life, and because he liked her. Amara's heart began to race, but her first feeling was not happiness. It was fear. She admitted softly that she liked him too, but she was scared. Not scared of him, but scared of everything around him. His family, his world, Vanessa's jealousy, the school's judgment, and the way one wrong move could change her life. Before Jayden could respond, footsteps sounded outside the door. Vanessa appeared at the entrance and saw enough to make her smile. She did not hear the full conversation, but she did not need to. Her imagination was already cruel enough. She said she hoped she was not interrupting anything, and Amara immediately gathered her books. Jayden looked angry, but Amara gave him a quiet look that told him not to react. Vanessa walked away slowly, already planning how to use what she had seen. To her, the story was becoming perfect. The poor scholarship girl, the rich new boy, the secret meetings, the expensive phone, and now the empty classroom. All Vanessa needed was the right moment. Debate day arrived with noise, polished shoes, visiting students, teachers, banners, then parents entering the school hall. Amara stood backstage holding her speech, trying to calm her breathing. Her uniform was neatly ironed, her hair was simple, and the new phone was not with her. She had left it at home because she did not want even one more reason for people to talk. Jayden stood near her and told her she was ready. She said her hands were shaking, and he told her it only meant she cared. That made her smile a little. Then he said something that stayed with her. He told her that no matter what happened on that stage, she had already won in the ways that mattered. Amara wanted to answer, but the announcer called her name. When Amara stepped onto the stage, the hall seemed too large at first. She saw students from other schools, teachers from her own school, the principal, and even Vanessa sitting in the front row with a smile that looked too calm. For a second, fear tried to steal her voice. Then she remembered her mother. She remembered the fruit shop. She remembered her father's belief that character mattered. And she began. Her opening was quiet, but it caught attention because it felt real. She said that leadership was not proven by how loudly someone spoke, or how rich their family was, or how many people followed them. Leadership was proven in small choices, especially when nobody was watching. As she continued, her confidence grew. The hall became silent, not because they were bored, but because they were listening. Jayden watched from the side with pride he could not hide. Even his father's warnings could not make him deny what he saw in Amara. She was not trying to impress people. She was telling the truth. She spoke about young people using privilege responsibly, about integrity in school, about how real leadership should protect the weak instead of mocking them. Some students shifted uncomfortably because the words touched more than the debate topic. They touched the culture of the school. They touched the way students like Vanessa used power. By the time Amara ended, the applause was strong and genuine. The principal stood up first, and then others followed. For one bright moment, Amara felt free. She had done it. She had stood before everyone and spoken without shaking. She had represented her school with dignity. Jayden met her backstage with a smile that said everything he was trying not to say in public. Her mother was not there because she could not leave the shop, but Amara could already imagine telling her the story that evening. She imagined her mother smiling, praying, then saying her father would have been proud. But that peaceful thought lasted only a few minutes. While the judges were preparing the final results, phones began to vibrate around the hall. At first it was one student. Then another. Then a group near the back started whispering. Amara noticed the change before she knew the reason. Jayden noticed it too. He saw students turning their screens toward each other and looking in Amara's direction. Vanessa sat still, but her eyes were shining. Grace looked pale beside her. That was when Jayden knew something had happened. He took out his phone and saw the video. It was the edited clip from the fruit shop, posted anonymously with a caption suggesting that Amara had been receiving secret favors from Jayden outside school while using her head prefect position to gain sympathy. The video was not explicit, but that made it worse in a way. It allowed people to imagine whatever they wanted. It showed Jayden at the shop, Amara smiling, her mother present, and the caption twisted everything into something shameful. In less than 10 minutes, the rumor grew larger than the truth. Some students connected it to the phone. Some said Amara had been pretending to be poor for attention. Others said Jayden was funding her lifestyle. The most painful part was that her mother was now in the video too. Amara had tried so hard to protect her mother from school gossip, and now her mother's small fruit shop was becoming entertainment for wealthy students. Jayden moved quickly toward Vanessa because he knew she was behind it, but Amara grabbed his arm before he could reach her. Her face was calm, but her eyes were full of hurt. She told him not to create a scene. Jayden whispered that she could not expect him to do nothing after this. Amara said doing nothing was not the same as being helpless. The results were about to be announced, and if he shouted in the hall, Vanessa would win twice. So Jayden stayed back, fighting every instinct in him. The judges announced Amara as the winner of the leadership debate. The hall clapped, but the applause felt different now. Some people still clapped with respect, but others clapped while whispering. Amara walked to the stage to receive the award, and for the first time, success felt heavy in her hands. The principal smiled at her, but she could see concern in his eyes. He had also seen the video. Vanessa watched from her seat, disappointed that Amara still won, but satisfied that the victory had been stained. That was enough for now. After the event, the principal asked Amara and Jayden to come to his office. Vanessa was also called in, along with Grace and Marie. The room was tense. The principal placed his phone on the desk and asked who posted the video. Nobody answered. Vanessa acted offended and said many students had received it, so anyone could have posted it. Jayden said sharply that she was lying. The principal warned him to be careful with accusations unless he had proof. Jayden turned to Grace and asked her to tell the truth, but Grace looked down. Vanessa stared at her with a silent warning, and Grace's courage disappeared. Amara finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, but steady. She said the video was taken at her mother's shop, where Jayden came to buy fruit. She said there was nothing secret or shameful about her helping her mother after school. She also admitted that Jayden had given her a phone as a gift, but she had not asked for it, and she had already made it clear to him that she did not want gifts that could create trouble. The principal listened carefully, but his face remained serious. He told her that he believed in her character, but the school also had a reputation to protect. Until the matter was reviewed, he advised her to be cautious with her duties as head prefect. Those words felt like a slap, even though the principal said them gently. Amara did not cry. She thanked him and left the office with her head high, but the moment she reached the empty corridor, her strength began to crack. Jayden followed her and apologized again and again, but Amara shook her head. She told him this was what she had been trying to explain from the beginning. His world could touch hers for one moment and leave damage behind. Jayden said he would fix it. Amara asked how. Would he erase the video from everyone's phone? Would he stop the whispers? Would he remove her mother's face from their gossip? Jayden had no answer. That evening, Amara went home later than usual. Her mother was sitting outside the shop, waiting. One look at Amara's face was enough. Amara tried to explain everything calmly, but when she mentioned the video, her voice broke. Her mother held her and told her not to be ashamed of honest work. She said selling fruit was not a crime. Poverty was not a crime. Helping your mother was not a scandal. The shame belonged to the people who mocked what they did not understand. Amara cried then, not loudly, but deeply. She cried because she was tired of being strong. She cried because her mother's dignity had been dragged into a school fight. And she cried because part of her wished she had never accepted that phone. Jayden also returned home troubled. Unfortunately for him, the video had reached his parents before he could explain. His father was waiting in the sitting room with a look that told Jayden the conversation would not be easy. He asked if this was the girl Jayden had been defending. Jayden said yes, and before his father could continue, he made it clear that Amara had done nothing wrong. His father said the issue was not only about right or wrong. It was about reputation, judgment, and consequences. Jayden became angry and asked why everyone cared more about reputation than truth. His father answered that truth without wisdom could still destroy people. Then he said something that made Jayden go cold. He had already placed a call to the school, and he wanted Jayden to stay away from Amara until the matter settled. Jayden refused immediately. His mother tried to calm him, but he was too hurt. He said staying away would make Amara look guilty. His father said getting closer would make things worse. Jayden said he did not care what people thought. His father's voice hardened, and he told Jayden that caring too late was how young men made mistakes that followed them for years. Jayden looked at his father and realized this was no longer advice. It was an order. But for the first time in his life, he was not sure he could obey. The next day at school, Amara noticed the change immediately. Some students avoided her. Some greeted her with fake sweetness. Some looked at her like she was a story they had already finished judging. Vanessa did not insult her directly. She did something worse. She smiled as if she had done nothing. Grace looked guilty every time Amara passed, but guilt without courage did not help anyone. Jayden tried to speak to Amara, but she kept the conversation short because she could feel everyone watching. Each time he moved close, whispers followed. Each time he stepped back, her heart hurt a little more. By afternoon, the principal announced that the school disciplinary committee would review the matter privately. He did not mention Amara's name in assembly, but everyone knew. Vanessa looked pleased until the principal added that any student found guilty of recording or spreading misleading content about another student would face serious punishment. For the first time, Vanessa's smile weakened. She had expected Amara to suffer quietly. She had not expected the school to investigate the source of the video. But then she looked at Grace, and her confidence returned. As long as Grace stayed silent, there was no proof. Amara spent the rest of the day trying to focus, but her mind was heavy. After school, she went to the empty classroom where she and Jayden had once practiced the debate. She sat there alone, looking at the award certificate on her lap. She had won, but it did not feel like victory anymore. Jayden entered quietly and stood near the door, unsure whether to come closer. Amara did not look up at first. She only asked if his parents had seen the video. Jayden said yes. She asked what they said. He hesitated, and that hesitation was enough. Amara nodded slowly and said she understood. Jayden came closer and told her he did not want to stay away from her. Amara looked at him with tired eyes and said sometimes wanting was not enough. He told her he would prove Vanessa was behind the video. Amara asked him not to make promises he could not control. Jayden said he was not making a promise to sound brave. He was making it because he could not watch her lose everything over a lie. For a moment, Amara wanted to believe him completely. She wanted to lean into the safety he was offering. But she had learned that safety from people like Jayden could disappear the moment their world pushed back. Before either of them could say more, Grace appeared at the door. She looked frightened, like someone who had been fighting with her conscience all day and finally lost. She told Amara she needed to say something, but before she could continue, Vanessa's voice came from behind her. Vanessa asked Grace what exactly she needed to say. Grace froze. Jayden stepped forward, but Vanessa ignored him and looked straight at Amara. Then she said the words slowly, making sure each one landed. She said Amara should enjoy her little sympathy while it lasted, because by tomorrow, the school would not be talking about a video anymore. They would be talking about the scholarship. Amara's face changed. Jayden asked what Vanessa meant, but Vanessa only smiled. She said some people did not deserve opportunities they could not handle. Then she walked away, leaving Grace trembling in the doorway. Amara stood very still, because now she understood. Vanessa was no longer trying to embarrass her. She was trying to remove her completely. That night, Amara could not sleep. Her mother prayed beside her, telling her that truth would stand, but Amara stared at the ceiling with one thought repeating in her mind. If Vanessa touched her scholarship, everything could change. Her school, her future, her mother's sacrifice, all of it could be taken away because of a lie. At the same time, Jayden sat in his room, staring at his phone, waiting for Grace to reply to his message. He knew Grace had almost confessed. He knew she was the weakest link in Vanessa's plan. But he also knew fear could keep people silent longer than guilt could make them speak. Just before midnight, Jayden's phone vibrated. It was a message from Grace. It said she was sorry, but she could not talk in school. If he wanted the truth, he should meet her before assembly the next morning near the old library staircase. Jayden sat up immediately. This was the proof they needed. This could clear Amara's name. But as he read the message again, another notification appeared. It was from Amara. Her message was short, but it made his heart drop. Jayden, the principal wants to see me tomorrow morning with my mother. Jayden stared at the screen, and for the first time since all of this started, he felt real fear. Vanessa had already made her move. The scholarship review had begun.
And that is how one simple gift turned Amara's victory into pain, leaving her future hanging before part 3.